Good morning, and thank you for joining me for another wildfire update. As I mentioned last week, a wildfire that started in the Northwest Territories last year and spread to northern Alberta is still classified as out of control, but is looking good from our side. Both Alberta and Northwest Territories are jointly responding to this wildfire. A new wildfire that is classified as out of control was detected in the Calgary Forest area early this morning and is currently 2 hectares in size. Surrounding communities in the Ghost River area may see smoke, but we want everyone to know that we have firefighters and aircraft actively responding to that wildfire. In good news this week, Alberta's prevention and response tactics have been working very well so far this season. At this point in time last year, the province had experienced over 540 wildfires with nearly 1.3 million hectares burned. Whereas this year, we have just over 380 wildfires and just under 28,000 hectares burned. This is encouraging, but it's also important to remember that we're still in the early stages of the wildfire season, and conditions and wildfire danger can change quickly. We saw signs of these changing conditions over the past week with the arrival of lightning storms throughout the province. Up until last week, Alberta had only 1 lightning-caused wildfire, but in recent days, 6 new wildfire starts have been confirmed as lightning-caused. As lightning becomes more prevalent during the wildfire season, it's more important than ever that we do everything we can to prevent human-caused wildfires. These preventable wildfires place unnecessary strain on resources and personnel who are already responding to multiple fires throughout the province. There is nothing we can do to prevent lightning-caused wildfires that often burn in remote and difficult-to-access locations. So the best thing we can do to ensure an effective response to those more difficult wildfires is to make sure our wildland firefighting teams have ample capacity to combat them. The caution and safe outdoor practices of Albertans allow wildfire teams to be more effective against larger, more complex fires. As I mentioned earlier, the province has seen very little area burned so far this season when compared to last year and the 5-year average. And this is all thanks to our men and women on the front lines. I want to encourage everyone to once again download the Wildfire app, the Fireban app, and the Emergency Alert app. These apps have the most up-to-date information. With that, I'll hand things over to Alberta Wildfire Information Unit Manager, Christy Tucker, for an operational update. Thank you.
Thank you, Minister. There are currently 26 wildfires burning in the forest protection area of Alberta. Of those, 2 are being held, 1 is out of control, and the rest are under control. So far this year, we have had 386 wildfires. As the Minister said, that's significantly fewer than we had at this time last year. The forest area that's seen the most area burned is in Fort McMurray, which has counted just 27 wildfires, but they burned nearly 27,000 hectares. That's largely because of the activity of 1 wildfire, MWF 017, which was classified as under control as of Monday. May is always a time of higher wildfire danger here in Alberta, when temperatures warm up and before the leaves and grass have fully turned green. But we always say the greatest indicator of what kind of season we'll have is usually the spring rain. And we're grateful for the rain that we've had over the past couple of weeks. Rain brings humidity and can lower wildfire danger, but it can also bring lightning. We've seen a rise this week in the number of lightning-caused wildfires, as the Minister mentioned. Fortunately, our teams are trained, positioned, and ready to respond to any new wildfires that start. If there's a fire restriction or ban in place, and there has recently been some rain in your area, please continue to respect the precautions that we are taking to prevent wildfires. In areas where we've had long periods of drought, larger trees and layers of organic buildup in the forest can take longer to show an improvement. There are many parts of the province which are now low in wildfire danger, but in the far northwest and southeast, wildfire danger is still high, with pockets showing extreme. Thank you to everyone who continues to stay aware of conditions and who practice wildfire safety out and about in Alberta. Thanks.
Thanks, Christy. We'll go to questions, noting we also have Steve Lacroix from AEMA here in the room. Usual thing, name and outlet, 1 question, 1 follow, please. So,
Jonathan Bradley, Western Standard. So, Minister Loewen, you spoke about firefighters taking action, better action, you could say, this year compared to last year with their strategies that they're doing this year. What strategies did you change to try to reduce wildfire activity from this year compared to last year?
We've done a number of things. Of course, we started the wildfire season earlier this year, so that's made a huge difference. We made sure our crews were prepared earlier this year. We hired additional crews this year, boots on the ground. We were able to contract 2 extra air tanker contracts this year. But probably some of the biggest things is having the night vision capabilities with 2 extra night vision helicopters. That's made a huge difference. And then also being able to have the wildfire, the folks on the ground actually fighting wildfire at night too. Again, we've always been concerned about safety when it comes to fighting wildfire at night. But with the new technology and just some good strategic planning, we're able to do that. And I think those are capabilities that have really changed our outlook. It is good that we've had weather that's been very helpful, but in order to take advantage of that good weather, you need to make sure that the job is being done on the ground to limit those fires as soon as possible and get around them as quick as possible.
Okay. And you spoke about only one of the wildfires being caused by lightning so far this year, so that means the majority of them are man-made. Were any of these, what's the status of determining whether or not any of these fires were done in malice, like the human-caused ones?
Yeah, so all wildfires in Alberta are investigated, and we still have several under investigation. When it comes to that process, we have our fire investigators that go out into the landscape after when a fire starts, and they look for the causes of those fires. And if it looks like there's any kind of malice or ill will of any of those, the cause of any of those fires, then they gather that information and pass it on to the RCMP, which have a couple folks that are assigned to working with determining with those fires how they were set and who may have set them and why.
Thank you.
And maybe Christy add to that.
Just to add some general information on wildfires that are caused by lightning, it tends to generally be about 60% human-caused, 40% lightning-caused here in the province, and we're shifting from the time of year where we will see almost all of our fires caused by human activity to a time when we'll see more lightning fires caused. As we've seen a turn in the weather, we have what people in wildfire call June monsoon season, so it's when we tend to get a bit more rain and we tend to see more lightning-caused fires here. So we do have a board that detects where lightning hits across the province, and so we know which areas we can target and investigate to see if there are new fires starting up from those lightning strikes. And we also have a team of investigators that go out and investigate, as the minister said, the cause of every wildfire.
Janet French from the CBC. Just questions about your fleet, your air fleet. Are there any plans to further expand Alberta's air tanker fleet? And if so, what are those plans?
Yeah, so we did expand our fleet this year. We have 4 of our own planes that we have, and then we contract have other contracts with other air tanker providers. This year, we added 2 more air tanker groups, and looking into the future, we're looking at possibly purchasing some more air tankers to have in our own personal fleet. And those discussions are still underway with finance and with providers, and so there's kind of limited information on exactly when and where or how those will come into play, because it does take a long time to procure them and actually have them built and provided.
If you could just clarify the timeline for making a decision on that, but also another question about water bombing helicopters. Has the province committed to investing any other new aircraft to the aerial fleet?
Yeah, so there's already discussions going on the costs and availability of extra air tankers. And so the other question sounded similar to the first one. Did that cover both, or did you have a?
No, I think the second question is about choppers.
Oh, okay, sorry.
Yeah, so water bombing helicopters.
Yeah.
Are you looking at any more helicopters?
So we have a lot of contracts right now out on those, and so those are all provided by contractors. And I know at last year, one time, I think we had 140 helicopters going at one time. This year, we haven't had the airspace available to actually use that many. Last year, with so many big fires going, we had a lot more helicopters in the air. But within the private industry, within Alberta, and BC and wherever we can get them contracted from, we have a lot of capability there already. So we're just basically call as needed and bring them into work.
Just to clarify, we own 0 helicopters? The government owns 0 helicopters?
Yeah, as far as I know, we don't have any. I'll let Christy.
Our helicopters that we use for fighting wildfire are all contract relationships that we have. There are hundreds available to us that we use when needed. We have different sizes of helicopters available, and some of the heavy helicopters actually carry more water than an air tanker can. So they do make a significant difference to fighting wildfire here in the province.
Catherine Gurkowski, Alberta Today. Do we know the cause of out of control wildfire in the Calgary forest area? Is that still under investigation?
That one at the moment, it's 4 hectares in size. It was detected very early this morning. It is classified as out of control, and the cause is still under investigation, but we are working on that. We have sufficient resources assigned to that fire now, but we just wanted people to know that there may be smoke visible in the area.
And when you're talking about the complexity of battling the lightning-caused fires, since they're in more remote or hard to reach, is that when you pull in more of the air resources, or what are the tactics?
Yeah, we have our wildfire teams that make those decisions, and so in order to get to those remote areas, obviously it's a lot easier to do that from the air, and so we use the air tankers and the water bombers and the helicopters on that. There was a fire that started in the Whitecourt Forest area a couple of weeks ago, and our teams from Slave Lake went and worked on that fire, and because they had the night vision helicopter, they're able to get there, spend more time there. Normally they would have barely got there, been able to fly around, look at the fire, and then leave again. But because they had that nighttime capabilities, they were able to stay there and actually get a bit of a perimeter around the fire and send the teams in the morning to work on it. So, but again, the air ability is critical in those more remote areas. But nothing beats boots on the ground, heavy equipment on the ground when it comes to getting in front of the fire and building those perimeters. I'm not sure if you want to add anything.
Yeah, I mean, we certainly do use aircraft all summer long, in particular, even for some wildfires that are accessible by road. It can sometimes be the fastest way to get initial attack resources to wildfire. But certainly, helicopter access is particularly important as we come into lightning season.
Thanks, Christy. Anything else here in the room? Looks like no. Anyone on the line? Okay. So that's great. Thanks for coming, folks. Thanks, Minister, Christy, and Steve. We'll wrap there. For the coming week, obviously, we'll keep adjusting these availabilities and any other information to the conditions. For now, we're not certain what will be warranted next week. It'll depend on the conditions. So please just watch the public itinerary and obviously watch for media notices. If you have questions, then just follow up with Pam or me. So, thanks.
Thank you very much, everyone. Appreciate it. Thanks.